In the news tonight, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Affairs says the Palestinian issue will remain a top Jordanian priority at the United Nations Security Council. An appeals court in Alexandria reduces the sentences of 14 women jailed for demonstrating to 1-year suspended terms, while a Cairo court acquits 155 supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood. And tributes to the late Nelson Mandela continue to pour in from across South Africa as the country prepares for a week of national mourning, culminating in his burial next week. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. Here are the details. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Affairs Nasser Joudeh said the Palestinian issue, which is the core of all conflicts and instability in the region, will remain a top Jordanian priority at the United Nations Security Council. In an interview with the UN radio a day after the UN General Assembly elected Jordan to the UN Security Council seat, Joudeh said Jordan's priority is to reach a comprehensive peace solution that guarantees the establishment of an independent Palestinian state, as well as security and stability for all peoples of the region. On the Syrian crisis and its repercussions on Jordan, Joudeh pointed out that Jordan hosts around 1.3 million Syrians on its territory, a number that puts major burdens on an already pressured national economy. He added that Jordan will use its membership in the UN Security Council to highlight its role with regards to the Syrian refugee issue, seeking further support from the international community and work with all parties to reach a political solution to the crisis. And in Syria, violence continued between the Syrian army and rebel forces. The two sides fought on the Lebanon-Syria border to gain control over the area linking central Syria and Damascus. The capture of the Nabak city in the area 2 weeks ago allowed the rebels to cut off a vital highway that serves as a crucial supply line to the Syrian capital. The Syrian army said it is trying to regain control over Nabak and secure the highway as quickly as possible to restore movement on it. As the fighting went on, the international highway remained closed and thousands of civilians remained besieged, with many hiding in their basements as their food and water supplies ran short. An army officer said the fighting of Nabak was part of a bigger battle scene stretching over the mountainous Qalamoun area. In Egypt, 14 Islamist women who were handed down an 11-year sentence on charges of supporting the Muslim Brotherhood will be released. The women were arrested in October during a pro-Morsi protest and charged with obstructing traffic and damaging property, while the 7 teenagers sent to a juvenile prison in the same case were put on probation for 3 months.
They had been sentenced to 11 years behind bars. Amid outrage on the streets, 14 Islamist women were given a stiff sentence for demonstrating in Egypt. Protests are a sensitive issue in the country after street demonstrations helped topple 2 presidents in less than 3 years.
They are claiming the Interior Ministry gave us these flowers. Yes, the Interior Ministry did give us flowers in the form of an 11-year jail sentence each. It's our loved ones and friends who brought us these flowers. This is a flower for Egypt because we love it.
But on Saturday, those sentences were slashed to a 1-year suspended sentence.
Each of the charged will serve a 1-year suspended jail term.
Once the paperwork is completed, they will all be released.
And in a separate case, a Cairo court acquitted 155 supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood arrested in October. The men were arrested and detained pending investigation on charges of spreading chaos in Tahrir Square, attacking security forces, vandalizing property, and possessing weapons during this year's celebrations marking the 60th anniversary of the October 6 war. Authorities had warned that anyone who protested against the army during ceremonies marking the anniversary of an attack on Israeli forces during the 1973 war would be regarded as an agent of foreign powers, not an activist. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel said the United States has a proven and enduring commitment to Middle East security backed by diplomatic engagement. Speaking at a regional security forum in the Bahraini capital, Manama, Hagel outlined the array of U.S. military forces in the area, including more than 35,000 military personnel in and immediately around the Gulf. Hagel acknowledged Gulf nations' concerns about the direction of U.S. policy in the Middle East, especially negotiations on Iran's nuclear program. He said the interim agreement the six powers reached with Tehran bought time for meaningful negotiation and not for deception. Hagel also laid out the U.S. stance on Syria, saying that while the U.S. would continue to provide aid to Syrian refugees and the neighboring countries of Jordan and Turkey, the rise of violent extremism in Syria had to be addressed.
We will continue to work with partners throughout the region to help bring about a political settlement to end this conflict. We must also confront the rise of violent extremist groups in Syria. And we must work together to ensure that our assistance to the opposition does not fall into the wrong hands. At the same time, the humanitarian suffering must continue to be addressed.
Battered by weeks of turmoil over the malfunctioning healthcare website, U.S. President Barack Obama turned to a fresh item on his agenda as he pressured Republicans in Congress to extend benefits for jobless Americans. Obama was buoyed by news yesterday that the U.S. jobless rate hit a 5-year low of 7%. In his weekly address, Obama said that before Congress leaves for vacation, they should extend unemployment benefits for 1.3 million hardworking Americans who will lose this lifetime at the end of the year.
For decades, Congress has voted to offer relief to job seekers, including when the unemployment rate was lower than it is today. But now that economic lifeline is in jeopardy, all because Republicans in this Congress, which is on track to be the most unproductive in history, have so far refused to extend it. So this holiday season, let's give our fellow Americans who are desperately looking for work the help they need to keep on looking. Let's make it easier for businesses to attract more customers and our economy to grow.
Tributes to former South African President Nelson Mandela continued to pour in from all over the world. Flowers were laid at the foot of a giant statue of the late South African leader in Mandela Square in Johannesburg. South Africans are pouring in from various parts of the country to pay tribute to the 95-year-old Nelson Mandela for bringing the continent's biggest and most sophisticated economy out of decades of apartheid isolation. A book of condolences was brought to the square for mourners to pay tribute to the giant of the nation. Preparations were underway for a week of national mourning, culminating in Mandela's burial on the 15th at his ancestral home in Kunu, south of Johannesburg. U.S. President Barack Obama, America's first black president, will be among a host of dignitaries expected to take part in the event. And while some South Africans continue to celebrate the remarkable life of the late Mandela with song and dance, a famous bakery in Cape Town decided to pay tribute to Mandela using colorful confectionery. Charlie's Bakery made special cupcakes with the words "Rest in Peace Tata Madiba" iced onto them. The bakery has been making what they refer to as the wicked chocolate Madiba cupcakes for every birthday of the late president and at any time they felt like expressing their love to him. Flights across England were delayed or cancelled today because of a technical problem at an air traffic control centre, stranding thousands of travellers. Disruption was reported at most airports, including Heathrow, which cancelled some 60 flights, Gatwick and Stansted, after what National Air Traffic Services NATS said was a computer glitch at its control centre in Swanwick in Hampshire. Passengers were being hit by average delays of between 1 and 3 hours. NATS would normally have handled about 2,000 flights by noon, but was about 20% down as a result of the problem. The U.S. First Family kicked off the gleeful holiday season with the lighting of the national Christmas tree near the White House, keeping alive a tradition that dates back to 1923. Sympathizing with the thousands of people who braced the cold and wet weather, Obama counted down from 5 instead of 10 before hitting the switch that lit the 8.5-meter Colorado blue spruce from Virginia. The event included performances by music legend Aretha Franklin, Mariah Carey, the multicultural Trio Forte, amongst others. World Motorsport governing body FIA presented its championship winners with their trophies at its end-of-season awards event. The prize-giving gala in Paris saw Germany's Sebastian Vettel and his Red Bull racing team scoop the Formula One driver and constructors' trophies. Volkswagen's Sebastian Ogier and Julian Ingrassia took the World Rally Championship trophy. There were also awards for endurance sports car racing, touring car racing, and regional rally championships. In NBA, the Houston Rockets blasted the Golden State Warriors 105-83. James Harden poured in 34 points, Dwight Howard recorded 22 points, and Terrence Jones added 16 for the Rockets. With the win, the Rockets improved to 14-7, good for second place in the Southwest Division behind the San Antonio Spurs, while the Golden State fell to 11-9 on the season, 2 games behind the Pacific Division leading Los Angeles Clippers.
Clay throws it away. It's a lazy pass. And that's a dunk. Harden is distributed nicely to Aaron Brooks, hitting the three. He had to put up a little higher because.
And Real Madrid's forward Cristiano Ronaldo unveiled his wax statue at Madrid's Wax Museum. Hundreds of fans crowded the museum to take a glimpse of the Real player and his statue. The statue is wearing Portugal's national team jersey, and to some that made a lot of sense should Ronaldo move to another club. And finally, relatively cold weather tonight with a chance for rain in the northern and central regions. Similar weather continues tomorrow with scattered rain in the northern and central regions, gradually extending to other parts of the kingdom. Winds will be northwesterly moderate to brisk, blowing dust in the desert areas. Further south in the Gulf of Aqaba, partly cloudy skies are expected with a chance for scattered showers, while winds will be northerly moderate to brisk and the sea is slightly choppy. The weatherman warns of poor visibility in the desert areas due to dust and of flash floods in low-lying areas. Here now is a look at temperatures forecast for tonight and tomorrow. And to close, here's a reminder of the day's top stories. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Affairs says the Palestinian issue will remain a top Jordanian priority at the United Nations Security Council. An appeals court in Alexandria reduces the sentences of 14 women jailed for demonstrating to 1-year suspended terms, while a Cairo court acquits 155 supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood. And tributes to the late Nelson Mandela continue to pour in from across South Africa as the country prepares for a week of national mourning, culminating in his burial next week. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Alia Tuqan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.